Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our weekly webinar series, Embracing Change. Today we have a dear friend. Don't see her yet, but I'm sure she'll show up. There we are, Barbara. So I have a dear friend who I've known for many, many years. Incredible woman that's had an amazing journey of, as always, like the rest of us, lots of ups and lots of downs, and has now just written a book, The Unexpected Gift, which I'll pull your leg a little bit right now. I did not have the privilege to be one of the ones to read before it was published, even though I'm told by a little ghost or a little mouse that I'm part of the book. So that will be quite interesting to see how I am depicted in the book. If at all. And yeah, we spent time, we trained in Sydney. We went to train with Brene Brown many years ago, which was quite an experience. And so here we are today. Thank you, Barbara, for taking the time. I know you're now cold Italy after the incredible snowstorm or snow, whatever way you want to put it, up in the mountains. So welcome, Barbara.
Thank you very much, Feisal. Thank you very much for inviting me. It's an honor to be here and a pleasure indeed. So having the chance to have this conversation with you and those who are here with us today. So thank you very much for this.
Thank you. So let's get into it. So you talk about relationships, you talk about radical friends, you talk about role models. Maybe let's go step by step, and maybe you help us define what do these mean. And how are they, of course, they're relevant to all of us, but why are they so important, and why take the time today to focus on this specific topic and use those specific words, because it's your words, they're not my words, right? Yeah. So tell us, whichever three you want to begin with.
Yes. So first of all, it's really an honor to be able to be here and speaking about this topic, because it is so close to me and to everybody, I would say, because we are the relationship we are involved with. We are the results of these connections. And so when I say that relationships are very important and vital, and particularly radical relationship, but I will tell you a little bit later what I mean for that. Is because really we cannot be who we are without the people that have been in our lives. So, and throughout the entire life, even if we are 5 years old, and even if we are a little bit older. So this is, for me, has always been a key element in who I am and how I live my life and who I've become and who I will become in the future. So it is particularly close to me as a topic. Okay. Relationship and social interactions that are particularly important for us are those caring interactions that we have with others. And you know better than I do that caring for others, offering help, giving advice, expressing some affection toward our others is good for our health. Physical health, right? Because it lowers our stress. Actually, it triggers those release stress hormones, and therefore it becomes good for our physical body, right? Because a lower level of stress is already good. From our emotional and psychological self, and for that aspect, they are amazing because when we are interacting in general with people in a caring way, we feel happier. We feel that we have a role in the life of others. We feel that we matter. We feel seen. We feel that we can contribute, and the possibility of contributing to others is so powerful because it makes us feel good. And so it put in motion a virtual cycle of positivity and optimism and desire of be better and doing better and be good to ourselves, our families, and humanity at large. So interacting and having this relationship is paramount. And if I go a little bit further, and what do I mean with radical relationships and why those are important? And indeed, radical relationship is a term that I love to use, and I use in my book. And I want to describe what it means, because it might be a little bit strong to say radical these days, what's going on around the world. But a radical relationship are those relationships that are so profoundly rooted in who we are and in our life that they are there. They are steadfast, and we can count on them no matter what. And they do not need to be long-term relationship that we have started growing since we were kids. They could be relationship that we have just started to build. But there is a particular disposition of people that get involved in these radical relationships. That is very important. I will talk about it a little bit later, and it has to do with trust. Does it make sense what I'm saying? Or, or
for me it does, but you know, when you're talking about the definition and on the emotion side, I guess I'm in the right business. I'm just in a virtual cycle with care even in the brand. So it's like I need to bring you into the marketing on behalf of Qineticare. No, but I mean it's incredible, right? It's always you know, I told a story. I remember when I was speaking in Davos about when Dr. D said that I was very selfish. And to make a long story short, he asked me, he said, how does it feel to give? And I said, it feels incredible. He said, yes, but how good are you at receiving? And because you don't allow others to receive, you're actually being very selfish. So to counter the opposite of what you're saying, right? That when we're giving, we get a lot of benefit, but we need to be able to receive. So I'd like to hear on the other side, right? So you're saying about the giving, the caring and that, but how good are we on the other way? Like how important is that in the relationship?
Absolutely. And you are so right. We tend to think that it is, for some of us, for some people, it is easier to be in the giver position, right? And usually people that are comfortable in giving have difficulties in receiving, because that feels selfish, might feel selfish. But in fact, you are absolutely right. We do need to learn in a relationship, we do need to learn to receive. Otherwise, we don't give a chance to the person in front of us to be a giver, and therefore to experience all the goodness of the giving, and for us to receive, because to be receiving, we do need to be humble. We do need to have a sense of who we are, that it is not, we are not perfect, that there is something that we do have needs, and that other people can contribute to who we are. So in receiving, there is a component of vulnerability that we need to be capable of. And that's why radical relationships are those where people are willing and committing, and they want to commit themselves to be both giver and receiver.
Okay.
Giver and receiver, and they are committed to do what it takes to be good at giving and good at receiving. Okay. And that it is not easy, because you said at the beginning, we know each other, we are good friends, and indeed it is the case. And it takes a lot of time, energy, commitment, and also a willingness to go beyond my limitations, the limitation I might experience about you, and vice versa, and still be there and decided, you know what, this person is worthwhile investing my time, energy, love, experience on. And radical friends, radical relationships are those who make that commitment. And it is so beautiful, because these relationships are those who remind you who you are. There is a beautiful story. It is not mine. It is in a book from Stephen Gilligan and Robert Dills. And it speaks about a ritual that a group of women on a Pacific island of Togo do every time a baby is born. Okay. What happens when a baby is born? Women go into the forest with the mother and the newborn baby, and they sit in circle around the mother and the newborn baby. And what happens is that little by little, each woman starts making a musical sound. And little by little, all the women have created a different musical sounds. And the totality of these sounds constitute a song that is unique to that soul, to that little baby that has just born. And
Wow.
when this baby grows, and become a man or a woman, if he or she is sick, or if there are challenges that the person cannot overcome, they don't send this person to a doctor if she is sick, or they don't do anything else, but these women, they start singing that song that is unique to that person, so that the person reconnects with who she or he is, and recenter, remember who he is and where he belongs. And so that just the alignment and reconnection with that center makes the person feels better. And then when the person dies in time, that song will never be sung again, because that was the unique song of that person. So that circle, that community of women, those are an aspect of those radical friends, because they sing your song. They remind you who you are, where you come from, what are your values, what you believe, what is important for you. I'm not saying that you need to have those values and beliefs once and for all and never change them, but they help you to remind yourself who you are, and then you can choose from there. So you mentioned my story. It's been indeed a journey, because I did I did go through a very painful divorce that involved not only losing my husband, that he decided to leave the marriage, but also reinventing myself and my life, because it happened in a context where I was in a foreign country, just moved in a foreign country. So I just finished my PhD at the time. So looking for a job, finding myself in a place where I didn't know anybody, my husband leaving, everything to build. And I did need someone that helped me remember who I was, because there was nothing apart from my physical self and what I was able to be connected to in that very painful moment that reminded me fully of that. And I am one of the blessed person that have radical friends in my life. And at that very difficult moment, they did sing my song, and they did help me remember what I was about, what I treasure, who I was, and from there rebuilding. So I know that many people do not have this blessing, and maybe they never thought of relationship as such an important pillar in their life. But my experience is that without those friends, life is so much worse and much more difficult. I don't know. I know you have also a very interesting experience. I don't know what's your view, Faisal?
No, I mean, I completely agree. I mean, first, I love that story. Thank you for sharing. I mean, it's to remind us of the perfection of life, and remind us of the origin of life, right? And of course, the women based on the origin of life, which is the womb. But at the same time, to know that, you know, all solution lies within, right? We have, and that's, you know, what they're referring to, right? But going back to radical friends, yeah, I mean, it's incredible to see not only the people that are already known to you when those events happen, but the new people who show up, who truly are there to help you move through. And, you know, and sometimes, you know, it's, you know, the conversations are very, very painful, right? It's not that they're coming in and, you know, you're just having a chit chat. It's really helping you, you know, go through that. And I know from, you know, our conversations that it has been, you know, and I assume that in the book that you talk about that whole experience and beyond. Am I correct? You want to share a little bit about the book, just to, since we're on that topic?
Sure, absolutely. The book is, thank you for the question, is a memoir, is my journey of renewal and transformation from that moment where my world collapsed, basically. And how did I move through that journey in that forest in order to emerge anew on the other side. And it was very challenging, extremely painful. It took me to the depth of a pain that I could not even imagine before, and it was almost, I would say, a spiritual experience, and very sacred, because I was led by this experience to touch the depth of a pain, and then the height of a grace at the same time, that I would have never imagined I would have been capable of. And so in those moments, I did realize how the people that populated my life, they were indeed a blessing. There was such a profound, when everything was collapsing around me, and the person that was my closest relationship, my husband, that I invested a life on this relationship and on this person, was simply walking away. And the circle, my circle, of people that were singing my song in that moment reminded me, you belong, we love you, you are important, we care, and you are part of our world. And that was immense. That was immense. And in the book, I go through the different stages of this journey that has been, as I said, very challenging and immensely rewarding. The fact of deciding to dance with life, to approach and look reality straight on, and not trying to avoid any little part of the pain. My decision was, no, I want to face it full on, because I need to go through that pain if I want to be free and renewed and transform and be ready for what's next. And that was exactly the case. So I really, it was a beautiful experience to write it. And I hope that will help people that are going a similar situation to see, because when I was going through that, I love reading. And I was looking at the time for books that would tell me that it's going to end well. There is a life, there is a light after the tunnel. And I wasn't able to find much at that time. And so I was looking at, I wanted a voice from the future. And I couldn't find that. I couldn't hear anybody. And the experiences around me, they were all worse than I was in, because they also didn't know where to turn to overcome that pain and to imagine and create a new future. And so I decided that I wanted to write that book, because at least someone that then, and unfortunately there are so many people that are going through this painful experience. And I thought that if someone is looking for a voice from the future that gives hope and that shows that, yes, the pain is there, it is tough, it is brutally painful sometimes, and at the same time, it does end, it transforms, and it becomes something beautiful. And a completely new world opens up. So that's also why I decided to write this book. And one element that I've learned, I was challenged with, and I have learned to appreciate very much, which leads me to the second point of this webinar, is trust. And if that's okay, I would like to share a little bit of my experience of trust. Because we all know that a trust is important, and it is something we would need to invest on. And I have experienced that because of my experience with my husband, I was challenged, because I did not want to trust at first any man, first of all, anymore. And it was very difficult to believe that I could trust any other people, until I learned what trust is really about. And I need to thank Brene Brown for this, because she presents what trust is about in a very beautiful way. And she speaks about trust in saying that it is a combination, as trust is made up of 7 behaviors. And by reading through her works, I really found out, wow, learning to relearning trust and how to trust really help us not only become better people, but it builds relationships, and those radical relationships that I was talking about. So I don't know if you are familiar with Brene Brown, but
Yes.
she speaks of trust in terms of being able to respect boundaries and set boundaries, so that if we are friends, I want to learn. And it is a process. It is an attitude. It is an experience, a very refined and sophisticated experience. How we trust, right? So you and I, friends, yes. Do I know how to set my boundaries and how to understand where your boundaries are so that I do not cross them. And in order to do this, I do need to make an effort to know you better. And you do need to do the same and invest your time in doing this. The second behavior that she talks about is being reliable. When you say something to me and you follow up with actions and vice versa, I know that I can count on your words, and that matters because you have shown to me. She speaks about accountability, which means that if I make mistakes, because sometimes we do, especially when we know each other and we want to learn about each other in any kind of relationship, right? I have the ability to say, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. I am learning. So here we go. I am admitting it. Let's start again. These elements of trust. One very important that I particularly like is the sense of privacy. And this is a very sophisticated concept that she puts forward and that I have learned because when we trust somebody, we share. Yeah. We share things that we like, we share information, we share experiences. And sometimes we are not so refined in respecting this privacy, right? Because then you turn to your next friend, which is maybe closer to you, you think, and you share what you have shared with me. That is breaching the privacy of the trust I am putting on you. So the ability that even with a person that is very close to me, I do not share information or I do not share the experience that it is not up to me to share because it is about you, that is a refinement of trust that we are building. And of course, she speaks about integrity. She speaks about not suspending the judgment. So being non-judgmental. And for me, in my experience, was so important because as soon as your husband or wife leaves you, you become a horrible person. That's the first perception. Ooh, who knows how bad she is or how bad he is. She must be a witch or something coming from another planet. And it is very, very painful to even if people don't say it, they look at you and the judgment is there, right? So it is very difficult then to trust somebody because your reaction is, okay, I'm going to protect myself here, right? Radical friends, they are capable of not judging you. You are free to have your experience, painful as it is. Share your things, share your needs, and they just listen. There is no judgment of value of what you're doing or what you're not doing. And that's priceless. And radical friends can do that very well. And the last one is being generous. Being generous with the with the assumption that you have. So if, Feisal, we know each other for many years, if we have an appointment and you show up 30 minutes later and you don't call me, I trust that you have a good reason. So I don't start thinking, oh, he doesn't care about the appointment. He doesn't even care to call. Look at that. I'm assuming that I'm waiting for 30 minutes, right? Yeah. But if I don't know you and I've just met you and therefore there is not this trust built, if you are not calling after 30 minutes, my judgment and my being generous will go off. Clearly, he doesn't care about this meeting. He has not even bothered to call me and so on. So I think that really the radical relationship and all these elements of trust, they are so powerful. Even if we just focus on one or two, and let alone going through the 7 is a program, an enhancement program of who we are and the beauty of being radical friends for someone or somebody. I don't know if you can relate to any of these.
No, I mean, they're incredible, right? So let's take this to some of the, I know you work with a lot of the leaders, right, of companies that many of the people on the call would recognize. Obviously, we're not going to use any names for privacy. But so how much of this element of trust and radical friendships or role models, we didn't touch on that yet, are you bringing into the leadership coaching and training that you are providing to some of the leaders of tomorrow?
I totally bring it in. Look, if we have that level of trust and therefore we build radical relationship, that can be a radical relationship in a workplace, the speed that it is generated in achieving goals is immense. In fact, as Covey says, he speaks about the speed of trust. If I don't have every time I interact with you at work, or if I'm a leader and interacting with the team, if I don't have every time to go through those checklists, oh, can I trust him in terms of, is he reliable, accountable? I feel like he's crossing my boundaries, and go. If I am fine with that, the response is immediate. You ask something, I go with my team, and that's done. But as soon as that trust is not built, the team is not responding. There are slowdowns. People need to express something, need to say their opinion. They need to be feeling safe with respect of what you propose as a leader, or as a team leader, or as a manager. So the development of these radical connections and trust has an immense value also for organization and corporations, which are basically a community of people, right? We cannot say that they also always care about each other, but I think that the future is really for, can I say, evolved human beings, in the sense that they really go beyond themselves, that they take the time to invest in developing high quality of human skills, really. How to interact, how to trust, how can we work together? And once you have that list of behaviors that are encompassed in trust done and worked upon, teams are fast, objectives are achieved, goals are achieved, and with much less stress. And there is less stress and much more sense of co-creating results and co-creating community. So I think that in the future, and the world now is showing it, we do need high quality human beings. And we are all high quality human beings. We just need the circle of friends, the circle of people that sing our song and remind us who we are, where we start, and then come with us, because we want those people in our journey, and they come with us to a place where we want to be, and we can contribute, and we can change ourselves, others, organizations, the world, and change for the better. And just because when we can grow together, it is the results are exponential. You have an amazing experience. Of course, you have multiple companies, and I don't know if you have noticed these in your experience, Feisal.
No, I mean, 100%, right? I mean, the thing is that, I'm going to keep pushing back at you, because, it's your turn to speak more than me, but I want to understand. So let's say, would you say that the relationship with a partner or spouse would be the highest form of radical friendship? Or do you think that how does that play a role? Like, how much of a role does it play?
A partner, an intimate relationship, do you mean?
Yes.
I think that we would all, well, I don't know if we would all love, but many people would love to have in their partner their radical friends. My experience was that my former husband, ex-husband, was not. It was for a moment, and then it became the opposite. And at the same time, his role was to build myself. Radical relationships can be in the form of friends, can be in the form of colleagues. They don't need to have the element of intimacy in it. Of course, if you have that element in the context of your life journey and life design, if it's something that you want, that is amazing, even more, right? But the radicality of friendships is, I would say, beyond that romantic relationship, an intimate relationship, because it is really touching the foundation of human connection, of the human connection. And I would say that the partner or the spouse relationship is built on that foundation, right?
Yeah, because if you speak to most people, right, they will share that the intimate relationship is the highest form of spirituality. So listening to that and listening to what you're sharing about radical relationships, right? It's, so there's, the triggering of what growth or lesson you need to learn are supposedly a lot more in that intimate relationship than any other relationship. Of course, children are there to teach you lessons you need to learn.
Yeah.
So what is your perspective on that? I'm not saying it's the only space, but I want to understand and go deeper in that.
I think that absolutely when you do add the intimate relationship, you add a layer of knowledge and depth that in friendship or partnership at work, it does not exist. And that level of relationship challenges you on very specific and very deep aspect of who you are and your identity and how you are in the world. So there is a difference. I'm saying that the radical relationship, even not in a context of a romantic relationship, can lead you to a very profound depth of very high heights, right? In terms of personal development. They are two different paths that originate in the same, because if people do not have an intimate relationship, right? It doesn't mean that they cannot grow, explore, and expand and be the best of who they are, right? The intimate relationship, the partnership, the being a spouse, and it is a journey within the journey that enhances certain aspects of yourself. And of course, it is beautiful and it does challenge you, because in theory, it is the relationship that you feel more free to express who you are, or at least we want to think about or think of it like that. As a matter of fact, it is also true, and I know because I speak with clients that I help in their relationship as well, most of the time it is very difficult to be so open, because it does require you to have done all the work on trust and on yourself and really knowing yourself. So I would say that the radical relationships are propedeutical to an actual full intimate relationship that involves partners or spouses. That's what I would say.
What about the relationship with yourself? How radical can that be in order to show up as and build a radical relationship, right? Because it all begins with the relationship with self. So what do you call that? Is that also needs to be radical? Is it another word? Are we able to see what somebody else is helping us see? Like how, what?
I think that if I look at my experience, others and role models have helped me to discover that there was more about me than what I originally thought of me. Events in life, for me, the divorce and my husband leaving was a wake-up call, powerful wake-up call that showed me that there was so much more to me in my life than what I was living. And I loved what I was living. And it opened up a completely different dimension. So then my choice was to actually explore what I was about at different levels. And this is not for everybody. I know that there are many people that they are happy with where they are and who they know themselves to be, and that's fine. And they don't dig deeper. They don't want to engage in that journey. I personally love it. That's why I do what I do. And I think that when people know themselves, that they discover the possibilities and opportunities that they have to be and to do in the world. And at the same time, I'm aware that it is not for everybody, either because they don't know that it exists as a possibility. Sometimes they know it, they don't choose it because it is hard work, as you know, right? Discovering about yourself and growing as a human being is hard work. It is a responsibility, and it does have huge reward. But before getting there, there is work and commitment that you need to make. So I think it is really everyone has their own desire, and they know what they are prepared to do. And sometimes people discover the self-development journey early in life because of friends, because of families, because of the environment. And sometimes you discover it just later in life, and that sheds a new light of what you have lived. And still, it's amazing nonetheless. So yeah, it's inspiring, I think, to investigate ourselves and see how we can really live up to our potential that is infinite, in my opinion.
Perfect. So in terms of relating, right? Let's get to the essence of relationship, right? Relating, and then you mentioned the 7 elements of trust that Brene Brown talks about. What other elements should we, learn, or can we learn, or would be, that you work on when it comes to relating, right? The connectedness, human to human. Are there any other aspects that that you focus on when you're helping, whether it's couples, whether it's family, whether it's friends, whoever, leaders?
I think that the most important element is for first to make sure that there is a level of awareness of where you stand as an individual first, and then in your role at work, or in your role as a family, in your role as a relationship. So I think that first of all, we always, what I call element of inner leadership, you do need to know where you stand. You need to be clear and have clear distinctions of what you are ready to do and what you have decided that you don't want to do with yourselves and with the situation. So there is a level of authenticity, integrity, honesty, transparency that I start working on. And then once that is planned and we have a map of where we are, then I work with the different situations, right? But there needs to be that level of awareness, because we can make a situation better, we can relate better, we can create outcomes that are better for our team and our organizations only if we have a level of awareness that tells us at first where we stand. Then we can decide, I want to be tough, I don't want to connect, but that's a choice, and you need to be aware of that. So then we can work on a base of awareness. So that's definitely what I would add to what I have already said. And then for those who really want to go the extra mile, whatever that extra mile is for them, role models is what I bring in. And role models are for me those who take us where we do not dare to go. In my experience back, and also is in my book, when I was going through my experience, even if I had these radical friends and they were blessed and amazing and loving people, they did not go through any similar experience. So I recognized that even if they wanted to be there and help me, and there was a level of depth where I was so alone and so lost. And I was looking for someone that could meet me there. And in my case, I love reading. I found that support, and I found those role models that help me, that really show me how it is possible to move forward. In my case, and it is a chapter in my book, they were what I call the giant of the soul. And they were survivors of the Second World War, the Auschwitz or the concentration camp survivor in the genocide in Rwanda. And they wrote about it, and they share in their book how they went through those horrible moments. And so in their experience, in their story, I found a community of role models for me in that particular moment. So I did not have the physical challenges and horrors that they went through. And because they were much better than I was, because they survived not only the psychological, the emotional, but also the physical and the environment problems, I could tap into their experience, and they show me for my little part how I could move forward and how I could actually bear what I was going through. So they have been my role models for that particular moment in my life. And not only that, because they showed me how could I overcome such an intense pain that for me was never ending, and in my view, it could have killed me. And yet here they are. They did not die with even worse situation. And so I love to read how they did it. And just to give you an example that I mentioned also in my book, there is Primo Levi, which is an Italian writer, and wrote If This Is a Man. And he describes how in a concentration camp, there was a moment when he could not see any way out. And the only way out was for him to think about touching the wires and kill himself because the pain was too much. And within that experience, he was nonetheless capable of seeing the positive and the possibility. Not because I say that we need to kill ourselves when we are in pain, but he showed me that even when that is what the extreme pain, you can still see a ray of light because you have a choice. You have a possibility. And so focusing on that tiny little moment when there is that choice and hang on and stay there and hold on to that possibility is how you move to the next step. You don't choose to kill yourself. You stay in that opening of possibility. So for me, reading that was amazing because here we go, somebody that actually went through something worse and he's telling me how to do it. So these are role models for me. In different moments in our life, we have different role models. In my experience, that particular time was these people that went through the amazing souls, giant really of the soul. And in a more normal situation, so to speak, we could think about a leader that inspires us in the way he or she interacts with their team or manages the organization, and really look into what they say, go and speak with them and see how they think and how they feel in certain situations, and learn because we all have giants before us. And as Nietzsche, I think, would say, we can just stand on the shoulder of giants and look forward. So I think it is a precious tool that we have, the amazing people we are surrounded by, and we just need to connect and decide to commit to the relationship and get all the richness. And as my book says, the unexpected gifts that are always there, and just we are too slow in discovering them. And so maybe become a little bit more capable of noticing these unexpected gifts that are people, that are situations. And yeah, so that's what I would say about the role models.
So very different from mentors, right? It's not necessarily the same thing. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Am I seeing a differentiation?
I mean, these are, yeah. When I think of mentors, there are people that are there with you, and then they share their experience. I don't think of mentors. For example, I wouldn't use the term mentors when I read book or people that are not there with us, right? Because with a mentor, I interact and I have in my view, right? I interact and I have a direct conversation. Role models are people that I see that they have already achieved what I want to achieve, what I am in the process of achieving. And so I keep my sight on them and trying to explore more and more how they did it, what they have done, how did they think, how did they feel in those particular situations, what actions did they take, and what else can they teach me by me observing and trying to be them in that situation, right? Whereas the mentor is more somebody, in my view, this is my personal right view, is somebody that accompanies you and not necessarily has had an experience, a similar experience, right? But maybe as there is wisdom there that comes from different situations that can be applied. And so there is a co-creation of what comes out, right?
Yeah.
So whereas role models, they have done their path. Nelson Mandela, right? How did he survive 27 years in jail? How did he remain sane? How did he build what he did through that experience? So what kind of mindset of inner landscape this kind of human being has? So that's what fascinates me. That's the role models I want to look at and I want to grow with. And as said, different part and mentors, there are many mentors, and you have been a mentors, friends have been a mentors, colleagues have been a mentors, right? Role models to me are of a different kind, in the sense that they have already completed part of the journey, at least that I'm on.
My ego is a little hurt right now. No, just kidding. Just kidding. Okay, so without ruining the book for the rest of us who want to read it, what are some of the gifts, if you don't mind sharing? I mean, if you're open to it, you don't have to. But what are some of the gifts that some of us may may experience in the challenging times. And obviously, as you know, many have lost loved ones during this last 12 months of this worldly experience we're all having. And so what gifts, I'm not talking about COVID now, but I'm saying, did you experience or that was completely from left field?
Yeah.
And everyone, please, questions. I don't see any questions, so we'd love to do a little bit of Q&A. We have another 13 minutes if anybody would like to share. Go ahead, Barbara, sorry.
Let me share that, to me, the unexpected gift that constantly showed up, and I realized it only later because I need to train the muscle of recognizing this, is how much love is already in place and is already in action, and how much love is faster than we are. Because when I was realizing that there was that something was a gift, I also noticed that it was already in place for a long time before. Just let me give you again another example that I talk about in the book. When the marriage, the breakup happened, I was without a job in a foreign country, without anything, unexpected situation, and alone. And I just finished my PhD at the time. And so I was in the process of finding a new job, and with a broken heart and challenging situation, it was very difficult. And so while I was trying to figure out, okay, what can I do? What can I do? What do I have to do? And with very little energy, a friend of mine that knew about, not even a friend, a person that I had known before, but we somehow connected. She happened to know about the situation, and what ended up, while I was still considering what to do, she was talking to people. And I got a call once where basically 3 women, aristocratic women, decided that they wanted to have cultural conversation in Italian about art and philosophy, and they wanted to pay me for that. And so that was my first job that I got, and that life gifted me, and that started to happen before even I realized that I could have had that. And so here we are, 3 angels and me spending time talking about arts and culture and philosophy with them and being paid for that. And that was a perfect first job after this terrible situation, because they were much older than I was. So they were taking care of my broken heart. They were very kind. We were having afternoons conversation, and I was paid for that. That is love in action before even think about it. How would I have ever imagined that in the 21st century it still happens to normal people to be paid for just talking about these things? Not in my world. That was such an unexpected gift. Those, for me, there were 3 angels, and that showed me. And so many times it happened that when I needed something, it was already in progress, the way to solve and to get that needs met. And so the unexpected gift is really that in every wrinkle of time, in every moment, and even today with this difficult situation, if you look closely and if you pause and if you pay attention, there is already a gift which is on the way. It's just that we need to refine our ability to notice it and to pay attention and to see that it is possible, which is what my journey taught me, from those 3 angels all the way to where I am today. And I love now to use this approach to look for the unexpected gift that is always hiding behind the moment, right? And I love this approach because it brings me joy, it brings me positivity, and to the point that I even have now, I had a person that I barely knew that brought a package outside my door with written "the unexpected gift." And just because she loved the fact of starting to not only look for the unexpected gifts, but also to move in that direction. So here I am, I open my door and here there is this gift, unexpected gift on top of it. And it was, wow, it is really a testament that it is always there. So difficult situation, you don't know where to turn. I would say, still with the tiny little energy left you have, like Primo Levi in Auschwitz, in that moment, just pause and pay attention to what is the gift that is already opening up there for you. So, and that is true, has been true for me in my experience, at least.
No, but I think you bring in another dimension where how can you provide the unexpected gift, right? And how can you, obviously it's bringing, you're bringing that cycle back, but, so now we have a number of parents obviously listening in. How, as role models to their, whether they're teenagers, whether they're, in their, little kids or in their 20s, what would be some suggestions of them leading by example, or them, because obviously it's all about leading by example. Telling is not going to really work. Is there anything that you would share with them to help support the next generation, or even?
What I would say, and I think it is very powerful as being a role model, would be actually see your children. Actually make the work to take off your idea of who they are and start actually listening to them. Start actually looking at them as different people with different worlds. Even if they are coming from you, they are their own individual, independent human entities. And start actually listen to what they say without dismissing, without going into default. Oh, I know he is always like that, or she is always like that. Actually start to listen. I can share a story about this,
Please.
which is I have amazing nephews. And in particular, this happened with my nephew, who was at the time 4 years old. And I really, since I was traveling a lot, I didn't had the chance to spend so much time with him, right? And I really wanted to connect with him. And so one day I made the conscious decision and I said, okay, Barbara, he's 4 years old. Nonetheless, you want to actually listen and follow what he says. And so first of all, he started, you use a nickname to call him. And he goes, I don't want, my name is, and he says, this is Cristiano, it's the full name. And I like the full name. And so I started calling him not with the nickname, but with the full name. And then I decided, you know what? I really, really want to connect with his world. And so when he starts bringing the heroes and the robots and all this kind of thing, instead of just brushing off that or just paying a little bit of attention, I really make an effort to be in his shoes. So being so interested in Spider-Man and being so interested in what he was bringing there. And it was amazing what happened. Because what happened, he noticed this and immediately he shifted. And from being an auntie that was not present because I was working and traveling a lot, he wanted me to spend the entire afternoon with him playing heroes, superheroes, which I did. It was just a couple of hours, not the entire afternoon. But when his mother came in, she said to me, what did you do to him? And I said, what did I do? It is like he is under a spell. He was completely in his world. And my effort was really to pay attention to what he was saying, to what he was asking, to what he was doing, and follow him. And he felt it. And from that moment on, the relationship with my little nephew completely turned, because he connected. He felt that I connected with his world and that I saw him. And that was actually true. It was a powerful experience for me too. That's why I'm sharing it. So what can parents do? What I did differently, I was the aunt, I'm not the parent. So for parents, probably is a little bit more challenging, but really seeing your children and take them seriously in what they say, in how they face things and situation, in how they move in their life, what is important to them. I think that does create a shift in the relationship, and there is a different connection when you stop being the parent, just the parent, and you start to be the parent and the person that is open to the novelty of what the kids can bring to you and your life. And I think that is so powerful. I know you have kids, and I'm sure you can relate to that. I don't know if you had some experience, but this for me was very powerful. And I bring this to my executives, this experience that I've just shared, because it does require you to, the famous, put yourself in the other person's shoes. And the 4 years old shoes and minds and hearts are tiny, and they are different. And it does require for you to let go of whatever you are thinking and feeling and your ideas, and just trust this little creature. And that's so powerful. So that is what I would say.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, obviously a 4-year-old versus, let's say, in my case, a 19-year-old, or in some cases, kids in their 20s, right? Or late 20s, 30s, right? And to remove that mask, as you say, or that lens that is so tainted, right?
Yeah.
Over the years, right? Of adding judgment, adding expectation, adding imposition, right? To move into that state of being, of showing up like you did with an empty cup. That's what you in virtuality did. You shifted and said, here's the cup, let's co-create. But in your sense, you said, let's co-create, and you tilted towards his world, right? And not your world. And you went from there, right? So, understanding that, but first to understand what are the judgments I bring? What are the expectations I bring? What are the long list of impositions that I've actually created? I mean, we just had a lunch at my auntie's, and we're talking about the unspoken expectations, or the self-imposed expectations that if you ask the child, will say, but you didn't have to say it.
Yeah.
But from their perspective, there is a part of self-imposed, right? So how can we come with that empty cup, right? And what does it even look like? And I'm asking from your experience. I mean, I know you've done a lot of work on emotional intelligence and that space.
I think that we do need in these circumstances, we do need a point of connection from where to start.
Okay.
And it is a process, and it does require both sides, because when we are talking about a 19 years old, then it's when their identity is shaping, and they have a vision, they are building who they are, about what they are about. So that I think we do need just at least one point of contact. And the first one of the way I would say to go about to decompose and take off the layers that you have built in time would be, at a certain point, just perhaps asking, okay, what is a conversation that we are not having, which would elicit at least what could be important. And it is maybe putting pressure on the emotion, could be a positive or in a more challenging way, but at least it enhances an onset, a moment of unspoken that is brought up. And then from there, you start unfolding and unpacking and discovering and being patient and being attentive and really listen with the heart, with the ear, with the sensation, and with great I would say compassion, because you have a history, your son has a history, your daughter has a history, and we need to have learn to create distinctions. Where do I end? Where my son begins? Where does he end and where I begin? What are those patterns and habits that I am imposing and they belong to me? And what are their new patterns and their habits that belong to them and they are foreign to me, and I'm resisting or fighting? So it is really a matter of having a starting point, what we care about in this moment, which is translated. So what are we not talking about? What would need to talk that we are not doing? And then from there, being clear and create distinctions. You are you, it's me, and this is where I end, this is where you begin. How do we build the connection? How do we build the relationship that respects those identities? But before that, you need, as you said, Feisal, you need to be clear. I need to be clear where I stand, who I am as to today, and what we have already created. So a starting point, because there could be many points of where you can start this unfolding. I think that a good place to start would be just ask the question, so what is it that we are not talking about? what is the big elephant in this moment in
Yes.
the room.
Yes.
And let's start, I would say, start with that. And knowing that actually this is part of building those radical relationships. And it is a process, and it is exciting, and it is rewarding, and it is also challenging. It is also challenging.
All right. It seems that everybody is being very, either they're in awe by all the incredible words that you're sharing, or they're absolutely lost. We will know later when I receive my comments on the WhatsApp. But we're out of time, and I would like to. Is there anything we didn't touch on? Otherwise, some last words to share, something to reflect on, something to take away. We will share the details of your book with them, so that way they're able to, have the honor and privilege to spend the time to read it and hopefully give you feedback. But some last words.
I would just like to thank you for this opportunity, the time, and the possibility of sharing my thoughts and my experience with you and with the people who are here. And I would just say that investing time in being a better human being, it is always a time well spent. So that is, and it does help both in moments of challenges and in moment when we are extremely happy, because when we are happy, we do want to have people we care about that share those moments with us. So investing in ourselves and in the quality of our relationship, I think it could be a priority for this moment, from this moment on. So that would be my invitation. And a big thank you for this beautiful experience.
No. So thank you very much, Barbara. Thank you. I remember when one time you told me to leave my fast car at the door and show up inside the house with a tricycle because I was not meeting the children where they were. And I remember that, and I'll remember that always for the rest of my life, and even the kids know it. So thank you for that, and many other beautiful sharings that you have to help me as the Baba in my own home. And again, thank you for your time. Thank you for the sharing. There's a lot of beautiful things, and obviously we will share with many others in terms of the video. And so thank you, everyone. Next week, we have Peter Vogel, who's the head of IMD and the family business side, to share with us about philanthropy, family philanthropy through the structure of family office and beyond. All right. So again, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you for the honor and privilege, and we'll chat soon. Okay. Thank you.
Bye.